Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I make this statement to Parliament under Rule 552(1) of our Rules of Procedure to brief the House on the actions taken by government in regard to complying with certain export market requirements for agricultural products originating from Uganda. This statement is for information purposes, but also to request and seek support of the August House in mobilizing our farmers and exporters to understand these export requirements such that they mainstream them in the agricultural production systems. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, the statement is about, number one, 2 export protocols signed with China at the recently concluded Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, abbreviated as FOCAC, where His Excellency the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda led the delegation of the Ugandan delegation, and number 2, on the launch of the country-wide registration of coffee value chain actors and farm mapping for purposes of creating a traceability system for our coffee and related products, and thus enable compliance with the European Union deforestation regulations. The recently signed protocols for export of dried chili and wild aquatic products between the Republic of Uganda and the People's Republic of China. Right Honorable Madam Speaker and colleagues, the Minister of Agriculture was part of Uganda's delegation to the recently concluded 9th Forum on China-Africa Cooperation held in Beijing from 2nd to the 8th of September 2024. The Ministry had prior to the forum been actively engaging with the General Administration of Customs of the People's Republic of China to have clearance for Uganda's dried chilies and wild aquatic products to enter the Chinese market. Thankfully, there was agreement on the key issues of concern for both countries. It is worth noting that it is an international norm that before any country exports products of plant origin to another country, a scientific assessment must be undertaken to understand the risk of introduction of new or exotic pests into the importing country. In the same way, it is a requirement to ensure that products of animal origin are fit for human consumption. This is the primary reason for having protocols in place. The lack of protocols in place meant that our products could not enter the Chinese market, and if there were to, they would move through non-designated trade routes and consequently reach China as if originating from other countries. So in other words, it would be export by smuggling. As part of the engagements and outcomes of the forum and its associated side events, the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries MAIF of Uganda, and the General Administration of Customs of the People's Republic of China, GAC, on behalf of the Chinese government, therefore signed 2 protocols, and these are, number 1, protocol on inspection, quarantine, and sanitary requirements of wild aquatic products, including Nile perch fillets, headless and gutted Nile perch, fish maw, fish skins, fish scales, silverfish products to be exported from Uganda to China. For purposes of the protocol, wild fish aquatic products refer to wild aquatic animal products and their processed products, marine plants such as algae, which are fit for human consumption, but do not include live aquatic animals, breeding materials of aquatic animals and plants, or the species prohibited by the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species. And number 2, the second protocol we signed is on inspection, quarantine, and sanitary requirements for export of dried chilies from Uganda to China. The protocol formalizes an agreement on the export of dried chilies as it opens up the door to accessing one of the world's largest chili consumer markets. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, the signing of the 2 protocols or agreements streamlines the export of Uganda's products in those 2 areas I've mentioned directly between Uganda and China. It implies that Ugandan registered dealers or traders will be recognized by the Chinese customs authorities and allowed to export products without going through tedious and shady channels operated by manipulative middlemen. This will translate into better export value and income to individual dealers and the country. I felt, Madam Speaker, this is good news for the members and the people they represent. Export procedures of the two products. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, through you as the elected people's representatives, I request you to amplify our voice as government, and we collectively guide our people, the prospective exporters of dried chilies and wild aquatic products, as follows. Number one, all prospective export companies must apply and register with the General Administration of Customs of the People's Republic of China. Number two, for purposes of process facilitation, all intending exporters must formally write to MAIF, to the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Fisheries, expressing interest to export to the China market. That's a procedure dictated by the other side. The Ministry will carry out a pre-audit on the export compliance status of the various establishments and thereafter recommend the entity to GAC for registration on the database. GAC means the General Administration of China Customs. A dedicated task unit of technical officers will be created in MAIF by the Permanent Secretary to expeditiously handle and facilitate this process of export registration and compliance with GAC. Our embassy in Beijing and the consulate in Guangzhou are also ready to help our intending exporters with other support and advisory services like business-to-business negotiations, marketing and translations, among others. Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I salute our embassy in China and our ambassador, Honorable Woneha, and her team, and the consulate in Guangzhou for their commercial diplomacy efforts. As we should applaud them for sure, it's right. As government, we will continue through bilateral engagements to negotiate with the Chinese authorities to conclude the other pending protocols on avocado, on meat, on castor oil, among others. European Union market requirements on coffee and others. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, each international market has requirements that we need to satisfy as a country before our products are admitted. As you may be aware, the European Union is one of our key markets, especially for coffee, accounting for over 60% of our coffee exports. A key requirement for the EU market is compliance with the European Union deforestation regulations, famously known as EUDR. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, on 5th December 2022, the European Parliament approved the EUDR aimed at ensuring that supply chains remain free from products contributing to deforestation and forest degradation. The regulation targets 7 commodities and their derived products, namely cattle, cocoa, coffee, oil palm, soya, wood, and rubber, whether imported or produced within the EU. These commodities will be prohibited from entering the EU market if they are produced on land cleared of forests for agricultural purposes after 30th December 2020. The EU regulations came into effect on 29th June 2023 and will come into application on 30th December 2024. However, Madam Speaker, yesterday after I had written this statement, we saw an adjustment published by the EU giving us an extra 12 months to allow us transition, and I think it's a good step. We welcome it. The regulation is part of the broader efforts intended to combat climate change, biodiversity loss, and environmental degradation. That's their justification for the law. Noting that EU represents a primary export market for Ugandan coffee, and that the deadline for compliance to EUDR is 30th December, the Ministry, UCDA, private sector players in the coffee value chain and development partners have prioritized the registration of coffee value chain actors so as to enable traceability of our coffee and prove that our source farms have not contributed to deforestation. It is also to prove that our coffee farming is environmentally friendly and sustainable. Madam Speaker and honorable colleagues, the EUDR specifically requires that all products exported or imported to the EU market are A. Deforestation-free. The production of coffee was done on a land that was not subject to deforestation or forest degradation after 30th December 2020. Produced in accordance with the relevant legislation of Uganda. C. Accompanied.
Yes, procedure matter.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the procedural matter I'm raising is whether the Minister is not procedurally wrong to give us a response when a petition has already, on the EU directives, has already been shared with the Committee on Agriculture, where we expect the Minister to share what he's bringing here to the committee, such that we harmonize the findings of the committee later here in plenary. Is the Minister procedure right not to share this with the committee that has been given the responsibility?
It has no harm. You're preempting the ruling of the presiding officer. Yes. Let him present. It has no harm. And the presiding officer will rule.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. There is no conflict, and the petition is not in any way conflicting with this. Yes, I am giving you information that you really require. Yeah. May I proceed, Madam Speaker?
Please.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for appreciating. Must be accompanied by a due diligence statement containing geolocation data adhering to traceability standards that enable buyers to trace each batch of coffee back to its designated land plot. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, our newly enacted National Coffee Act, which this Parliament passed and for which I'm grateful, already provides for establishment of a national register for coffee value chain actors. This partly answers the compliance requirement in B above. Registration of coffee value chain actors is an essential precursor to the creation of the national traceability system. Such measures are vital for supporting our coffee farmers, enhancing sustainability, improving market access, and ensuring compliance with both local legislation and international regulations. It is worth noting that the issue of traceability is becoming critical to all markets as consumers are increasingly aware and therefore need to know the source of what they consume. This is not just for the external markets, but also our domestic markets as well. I would like to emphasize, honorable colleagues, that this registration process is being conducted free of charge by the Uganda Coffee Development Authority and partners, and it is not to serve any other purpose apart from enabling the development of the value chain and access to global markets. When farmers are profiled or registered, extension outreaches and information dissemination become easy, in addition to fulfilling the requirements of the EUDR. How will the registration be carried out? Madam Speaker and colleagues, a dedicated technical working group has been established to oversee the effective implementation of EUDR regulations. This group comprises representatives from UCDA, MDAs, and the private sector. A geospatial monitoring and evaluation system and farmer registration application has been developed. This innovative system will capture geolocation data for all production plots where coffee or related products are cultivated. A team of enumerators will carry out the registration process on behalf of UCD and the industry players. All coffee value chain actors, including farmers, traders, processors, will be registered. The enumerators will record essential details of the value chain actors, such as their name, farm name, and location, type of coffee grown, Robusta or Arabica produced, among others. In addition, enumerators will map farms or gardens by recording their GPS coordinates. UCDA will store and manage the data collected in partnership with NITA-U and will ensure compliance with the Data Protection Act, which this Parliament enacted, during the collection, storage, and management of the data. In addition to the efforts towards retaining the existing markets, the government of Uganda will continue efforts to promote agricultural products such as coffee to emerging markets including China, Middle East, Maghreb, among others. Appeal, Madam Speaker and colleagues. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, it has become clear that we cannot continue to produce in disregard of the needs of the consumer. As such, we need to ensure that for as long as we are not producing for subsistence, market standards have to be followed right from inputs through planting, growth, harvesting, processing, and transportation. As leaders, we have a huge role to play in ensuring that we mobilize and sensitize our people of these emerging trends and ensuring that they are ready for the market. Madam Speaker and colleagues, I therefore appeal to you, honorable colleagues, other leaders, all leaders, political, cultural, and religious, the coffee value chain actors, the farmers, the processors, and others, and district local government leaders to support the upcoming registration exercise for coffee. It is crucial for ensuring continued access to international markets and effective mapping of coffee farms. Further appeal goes to all those who intend to invest in the agricultural sector, particularly farming, to ensure that moving forward, all agriculture expansion adopts sustainable production practices that preserve the environment. Madam Speaker and colleagues, as government continues to negotiate international markets for our agricultural products through the various diplomatic channels, let us play our role of ensuring that we satisfy those markets in terms of both quality and quantity. We can only win by ensuring that our products are market responsive. Honorable colleagues, I appeal to you to amplify this message in your respective constituencies. If we can act right and act together, our people will win. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I beg to submit.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, as Honorable Christine had already intimated, and for us to have in-depth examination of this, we will send this for legislative oversight to the committee, and the committee will report back to this House after having a legislative oversight, an in-depth oversight. Yes, Kao.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. The clarification that I would like to seek from the Minister is what is actually statement alludes to. The registration, you say in your statement that it is not to serve any other purpose apart from maybe on-farm support for the farmers, traceability, extension services, and maybe regulation and planning. But in my sub-region, where we are growers of Arabica coffee, farmers are holding your ministry in suspicion, and also UCDA, especially now that they are to establish and maintain a national register for farmers. Isn't it about levying a tax on them? That's one of the concerns. The second one, especially your statement mentions acreage, that they have to establish the acreage of the farm. And in Mount Elgon, Bugisu and Sebei, we have a challenge of land fragmentation. The farming is being done on very small plots. I don't know whether it is an ulterior motive to edge out those small-scale farmers. That is another concern. Could you please throw clarity on that?
Honorable members, honorable members, I have said this must go to the committee. We want an in-depth examination on this, and if we feel we should go to the committee, then we follow it up to the committee, because I don't want to preempt what the committee is going to report. I have said it goes to the committee. Check Rule 87.